We're all familiar with the most popular transactions like sales order and purchase order. And then next on the list, which aren't as frequently used, is work orders and transfer orders. A sales order is something you use to represent the customer's purchase order. You could also call it a sales confirmation. You're confirming that you received the customer's purchase order. It's all a matter of perspective, right? On the purchasing side, your purchase order could represent the vendor's sales order. Okay? So inventory leaves the system on a sales order. Inventory comes in on a purchase order. In a work order, the components or raw goods are consumed, and then the finished good or the output item is yielded or created. In a transfer order, the inventory is just tracked as it moves from one location to another location. That location could be a different rack space within the building, or that could be a different site, a different building with a different address. I'm Lance with Brando Consulting, inventory software expert since 2006. In this video, I'm going to show you locate inventory's use order. The use order is found under stock right here, use orders, and here we find the use order screen. I've left a couple of things unset up so I can demonstrate how to set up your account to work with use orders, and then I'll show you the workflow of a use order and the different functions of a use order. So there's a couple things to consider when using a use order. Notice this field says use case. If you go to setup, you'll see an area here that says use cases, and this is where the feature comes to light. I'm going to create a new use case. I'll click new use case and click samples, right? How many of you give out free samples to a customer and want to properly account for that sample? A use order in Locate will allow you to do that, and it will hit an account in QuickBooks that would represent that. Alright, so I'm going to click Save. Notice some other use cases represented here. One is R&D. Another one is rent. We'll get to that in a minute. There's a feature in the use order screen that represents a rent workflow or a rent use case. In Locate's documentation for account mapping, it lists samples, donations, R&Ds, and displays for ways we can use a use order. I'm on the screen that I refer to quite frequently in Locate's help section, and that is the default account mapping guideline. If you scroll all the way to the bottom, you'll see that Locate wants us to set up inventory consumption. It's not marked as a required field, but it's definitely required if you use the use order screen. So let's set that up. We set up a use case called samples. Now let's set up an account called inventory consumption. I'll log into my QuickBooks, go to my sandbox file that I use for these demos, click, go to my chart of accounts, click, check to see if I don't already have it set up. I don't. This could be a cost of goods sold or an expense account. That's nice that Locate allows you to do either expense or cost of goods sold in this case. A good software usually does two things. One, it's dummy proof to prevent the user from making mistakes. And two, it's flexible to give you a lot of different options, a lot of different ways to use one feature. This is a good example of that. With account mapping, Locate restricts the ability to map this to, say, an asset account or an income account to make some sort of blunder. I'm looking for a detail type that says something like marketing expense. If I'm going to use this to represent a use case of giving out free samples, looks like supplies and materials about as close as I'm going to get. And yeah, maybe I should double check to see if I have a marketing expense or a promotion expense type account already set up. Here we go, promotional expense. So if I'm going to strictly use the use order for samples, this would work. I could map it to something more specific like promotional expense. But if I'm going to use the use order more loosely for multiple reasons, like for R&D and for samples, then I may want to pick a more general account name that would represent that. Like one Locate recommends is to call the account inventory consumption. So that's something we could do. In this example, I'm going to use promotional. So instead of creating a new account, I'm going to use promotional and just, well, no, I want to use this for other things too in this demonstration. That wouldn't make sense if I just used promotional. So I changed my mind. I'll take it back. All right, let's just set up the general expense. Maybe I could make it an other expense. Well, I have to be careful because Locate does say only cost of goods and expense accounts. Let's see if it lets me. Not really finding what I'm looking for. Let's stick with expense, supplies and materials, and we'll just call it inventory consumption. Keep it general so we can use the use order for multiple things. Save and close. We'll go back to Locate, go to Setup, Services, QuickBooks Online. I already had it pulled up. Account Map. Scroll all the way to the bottom where we say the inventory consumption account. Notice I'm going to do a lot of other videos to explain the mappings of these other accounts I don't have mapped yet. So inventory consumption account is used for use orders. Click Edit, type in inventory consumption. Forgot to sync. Let's come up here and sync it. It's not there yet. Get the two synced and then it'll be there. Okay, now we go down inventory consumption and there it is. Showing up on the bottom of my screen there. Click Save. All right, so there's two things we needed to do from a setup perspective to get ready to use the use order. Map the inventory consumption account and add some use cases that we're going to use. So now let's go use it. Let's look at the workflow. Go back to the use order, click use orders, and let's give away a free sample from the main site. So I'm going to select the use case. Maybe I didn't click save. Double check my use case. Samples is on there now. Probably just have to refresh. I'll close this tab, reopen it. Use orders. Click use order, new use order. Now click on use case. There's our samples. All right, we just needed to refresh. So then what customer are we giving a free sample to? We'll select this customer. Dates not required. Pick use order and ship use order. So this is nice. This allows you to use different options in the workflow. Remember, the standard option for fulfilling sales orders is pick, pack, pickup. Pick, pack, pickup. And if we select ship use order, then it will progress the pick to pack, and depending on what carrier you're using, it will either use the shipping feature or not, as I described on a previous video. How carriers are set to either use the packing or the shipping step, or just the packing or not the shipping step. Definitely check out my video about the pack and ship workflow as it relates to the carrier. Okay, so we have a shipping address that we're going to ship this sample to from this customer. I chose shipping, so it would go through the pack and pickup step. Just want to clarify, yes, it says ship, but whether or not it uses the shipping screen is up to the carrier right here. Okay, so still going to follow the same workflow rules. So down on the bottom right here on the save button, we'll click save. And now it wants to know what we want to give a free sample of. So we're going to give a free sample of Canadian Dry, and I want you to divert your attention to this right here, line type, because this is going to come into play on my next example. There's consumption or checkout. So we are using consumption. Samples would be considered a consumption type use case. So I'll click Add to give out a free bottle of Canada Dry, or free can of Canada Dry, and click Issue. So now this use order is going to show up on the picking screen just like it would for a sales order, unless you're bypassing picking and you have a ship station feature, but that's not a common use case. So I'll just talk about the most common use case. So this is going to progress to picking, and then packing, and then pickup. And instead of hitting the regular cost of goods sold account, it's going to hit the inventory consumption account. AR and income, of course, will be 0. There's no price here. Look at this. There's no price. This is not a sales order. It's a use order. We're not selling it. We're giving it away for free. So now I can kind of skip through here. I'm going to use the less common just to demonstrate this. We go to pick the use order. Here the use order is in the picking area like I described. We'll commit it, finish it, and now we can progress to pack the order. Come over here to pack the order, check the box, add the line, go through the picking step. You can watch my video on packing if you want to know more about the packing step. We're just going to fly through here because this video is to focus on use orders. Finish the pack, and shouldn't be anything in shipping. Yep, this should just show up in pickup. Now we've got a use order in pickup. Look at that, use order and USPS. So we've got a use order to be picked up and shipped out. We'll click pickup, pick that baby up, and now under accounting ledger, we've got this use order here and a journal entry that's going to be sent to QuickBooks. Shows the debit and the credit. So this is what I was playing with previous to this video. This is what we just barely did. Use order number 5. Yep, use order number 5. Crediting inventory asset, debiting inventory consumption. And conveniently located on Locate's ledger screen is the sync button right here. We can click, should say the sync button right there. We can click sync QuickBooks Online, send this most recent transaction to QuickBooks Online. Now if we pull up the inventory consumption account that we created, run that report for the inventory consumption account, you'll see, there we go, a new journal entry. It says locate 18. If we go back to the journal entry, we'll see that the accounting that it put is like a -18, so it's flagging it. Since we synced, we can refresh this. So I just want to show you, what it looks like in QuickBooks and what it looks like in Locate. So we'll kind of go back and forth from the QuickBooks screen, the Locate screen. So this is the Locate screen, the general ledger screen on Locate. And I'll go up here, go back to my QuickBooks, and we've got inventory consumption 309.31. Let's drill into this a little bit more. This sent it all to one journal entry here. It's good to see how it's making its way out, making its way over, I mean. So we've got 309.31 in consumption. This is a combined journal entry with some other adjustments that I did outside of this video, previous to this video. Now what we like to see is it all matching up nicely, right? So we can do that by coming here and seeing, okay, the one that I just did was 239, but that was combined with another one that I did before the video, which was 306.92, which was also an inventory consumption type transaction. It says right here, use order. So we see it all adds up nicely to 309.31. 306.92 plus 239. 239 equals our 309.31 that we get. So that's sampling. Next thing I'm going to show is the checkout feature. Remember that in the a few minutes ago in the video. I'll show you. Let's go back to the use order screen and move my mug over here. Let's create a new use order. And this time, let's use a different use case. Now, I'm going to use rent. You could also use this exact same concept for trade shows. If you're bringing inventory to a trade show and it's just going out and coming back. You can also use the transfer order screen for this as well, if you'd like. So either one will work. But I'm going to use the rent use case that I set up previously because I think this is pretty cool. We recently did a demo with someone who was looking for a rental software, and they kind of exhausted their shopping with rental software that was made specifically to rental companies. And we were really pleased to see what Locate could do and how Locate could handle rentals. So we set up a use case rental. Let's just grab a customer, any customer. Pick a customer, any customer, it doesn't matter. And select the customer. Let's say they're going to ask for this on this date. We're going to have it show up at their location 2 days later because it's going to take a couple days to ship. And yes, we want to use the shipping screen. If we don't select yes on ship order, then it will show the inventory checked out after we just pick it. But we want to pack it and load it on the truck and have a packing list and all that. So we want it to be a ship use order. This is also noteworthy. Calculate use tax. That's good for R&D, right? If you're going to consume it in R&D, maybe you give stuff away for free to employees too. That could be another use case for this use order, giving inventory to employees as an employee benefit of some sort. Okay, so this one is on carrier DHL, and that's the address we're sending it to. The bottom left-hand corner here, I'll click Save. And then, what are we going to rent out? Let's say we're going to rent out tablecloths. Maybe the person that owns Locate is a wedding planner. They're renting out. So we would select checkout instead of consumption. So when we gave out that free sample in the previous example, the inventory was depleted and decreased. Assets were credited. Cost of goods sold were debited. This will create no accounting transaction. So I just add the item, and now we have a checkout type item. That's the key right there. It's got to be a checkout type, not consumption. So now we can come up here, issue this use order, and I want to focus on this part so you can see what this part does in this workflow. So I'm going to be going back and forth to look at the part in inventory. I'll click the part number and click on inventory, and it says we've got it in a stock location. This is just like a general stock location. This is just a demo version. And then we've got B to B, B to B, not to be confused with B to C / B to B. This is like a shelf location here. So we've got 100 there, and then now if we go to picking and go to the screen where we can create new picks, we've got a big long list of orders here, but I'm going to focus on use orders. So on this pick screen, I can just zoom into the use orders that I have in here. I've been playing with this, so I've got a few use orders, but here's the one we just created, is this use order. So we can now create a pick and go to pick and commit. So we're fulfilling this use order really similar, in a really similar way as we do a sales order, and finish the pick. So just to demonstrate what's going on here, like I said, we're going to go back and forth. I'm going to go back to the part screen. So click on part, and it looks the same as it did before. I'll click refresh, and now you'll see that we've advanced these tablecloths to the packing area. Now what gets really exciting, what gets really cool, is when is when we ship this out. I'm just going to focus on this one use order. Sales order, use order, sales order, use order. Come over here, create pack. We'll just fly through packing here. Remember to watch my other video on packing if you want to know more about packing. We're just going to fly through it. Normally, I would use the mobile device for picking and packing. Finish pack. DHL may or may not use shipping. Oh, it does use shipping. Okay, so we use DHL carrier, and that's why it's going to shipping. Just quickly finish this out. Be sure to watch my video on shipping. Okay, so now we're to pickup, and this is where it comes out of the system. Oh, what the heck. Let's take a quick peek. Since we've gone through pack and ship, let's take a quick peek at the part, see where it's at in the workflow. I'll refresh this. Now it's at pickup. It's at the pickup location. Makes sense? Okay. So we're going to pick it up. This is where it leaves the building. Tablecloths are leaving the building. Okay, the tablecloths have left the building. This was use order number 6. I haven't clicked on this screen for a while, so to see the real status of this use order, I would need to refresh it, right? Clear filters is a good way to refresh this list here. We can also close it and reopen it. It's another way to refresh. Herman Group use order number 6 is the one we're looking at, and it says status issued. So it's still like in an open status. And one thing that's nice too is, look, the use case shows on this list. So we can see issued statuses and completed statuses. So if we want to know all of our outstanding rentals, we could say, just show me the use orders that are in the issued status. You know, they're not completed yet, they're outstanding, they're rentals. We want to see what we're renting to the Harmon Group. We'll click right here and it'll show us, oh, we're renting 50 tablecloths. Okay, now let's go to the part. As I mentioned, we want to go back to the part to just see where the system says it is, right? Where does locate say it is? So I'm going to click on parts, and once again we'll need to refresh because we haven't been to this screen. So I'll click refresh, and now this is what's fun. It says it's checked out. So it's not available, it's checked out. It's in the checked out location. And notice in the checked out location it says 0 is available to pick, which basically means it's not available until it comes back. All right, so let's bring it back. Let's say they're done renting it, and we go back to our use orders. And one thing that kind of snuck in on us that we didn't really see before that's there now is this new tab on this use order screen called check-in. So we can go to check-in, and let's say they want to return 25 and still keep 50. So they're just going to check in 25. That would never happen, right? Of course it would. So click check in, and now we see 25 are complete. They're checked in. Let's go back to our part screen. Looking at this tablecloth, click. Notice it says 50 are checked out. If I refresh, now it says 25 are in the receiving location because they brought 25 back. That makes sense. And checked out are, they still have 25 checked out. So take a look at my put away video. We're going over a lot of things in this video. In put away, because it's in the receiving location, we now see that those 25 cloths are in the receiving location waiting to be put away. The quote-unquote receiving process for a checked out type use order is different. We didn't use the receiving screen. We went to the use order and we clicked checkout. Then of course, if you want to bill your customers for the monthly rental fee, you would use QuickBooks to send out automatic invoicing, or maybe you have an automatic payment processing set up. You can just use the QuickBooks feature to automatically process monthly rental fees. And when they check it back in, you go back to QuickBooks and turn that off, or change the amount since they kept 25 outstanding. Hopefully you enjoyed this video and your mind could start thinking about all the different ways you can use a use order in locate inventory. Feel free to comment below if you have any questions. I do my best to respond to questions, and of course in the public forum your question may be answered by another locate user. Subscribe to my channel to see more videos like this, and be sure to hit the like button below.